All right, today we are diving into something that is quite literally baked into the very ground we live on here in British Columbia. I'm talking about the inevitable shake. But we're not just going to talk about the what of earthquakes. No, this is all about the how you can be ready when the big one finally hits. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. The first sign of an earthquake might not be the earth shaking anymore. It could be a buzz on your phone. We're living in a time where technology can actually give us a heads up, a few precious seconds of warning. But here's the thing, what we do with those seconds, well, that's what really matters. This whole thing is about turning that knowledge into real life-saving action. Okay, so let's start with the big question. Why? Why is this so incredibly important for anyone living in BC? Well, it's because here, earthquakes are not some distant what-if scenario you see in the movies. Nope. They are a built-in, totally inevitable part of our reality. And this really frames the whole conversation perfectly. You remember that old fable, right? The grasshopper? He just chills all summer. But the ant? The ant works hard preparing for winter. And when that first snow falls, well, we all know who's safe and sound. Look, this isn't about being scared. It's about making a choice. You can be the grasshopper or you can be the ant. It's about being smart, being proactive, and really being in control. And hey, if you need a little more motivation to be the ant, check out these numbers. Seismologists, the experts, they estimate the odds of a major damaging quake hitting our region in the next 50 years are as high as 1 in 3. I mean, wow, those are not odds you want to gamble with, right? And that right there is exactly why we have to be the ant. So here's the bottom line, the most crucial takeaway. It is not a matter of if a major earthquake will happen, it's when. And since we have absolutely no way of predicting the when, the only question that really truly matters is this: are you going to be ready? Which, brings us to a really powerful new tool in our preparedness toolbox. We're going to shift gears now from the problem to a major part of the solution, and that is the National Earthquake Early Warning System, which actually went live right here in BC in the spring of 2024. So what is this thing exactly? Well, in the simplest terms, the Earthquake Early Warning System is designed to give us a heads up. We're talking seconds, maybe even tens of seconds, before the really strong, damaging shaking gets to where we are. Now, it's super important to know this system doesn't predict earthquakes. It detects them the very instant they start. Okay, so how on earth does it work? It's actually pretty cool. See, earthquakes release two main types of waves. The first one to show up is called the P wave. It's super fast, but it's not the one that causes damage. A network of sensors detects this P wave, instantly crunches the data, and bam, an alert gets broadcast. All of this happens in the time it takes for the second wave, the S wave, to arrive. And that S wave, that's the slower but much more damaging one. So that little gap between the P and the S wave, that is your window. That's your time to act. Now, there are some really important things you need to know about how this works in the real world. First, it's not an app you have to download. The alerts are sent automatically to phones, TVs, and radios. Second, you'll only get an alert for the big ones, the quakes that could actually cause damage. And this last part is absolutely crucial. If you are very close to where the earthquake starts, the epicenter, you might actually feel the shaking before the alert can get to you. And that is why the number one rule, the golden rule, hasn't changed. If you feel shaking, you do not wait for an alert. You drop, you cover, and you hold on immediately. Okay, and this brings us to a super critical point. Look, the early warning system is a fantastic tool, it really is, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. True preparedness, the kind that really makes a difference, starts way before any alert ever goes off. It starts with your personal playbook. This section is all about what you can do, like this weekend, to make your home and your family a whole lot safer. Here's a wild fact that most people don't realize. In most earthquakes, it's not the building collapsing that hurts people. It's our own stuff. Imagine your whole house being picked up and shaken violently. What's going to happen? Tall bookcases tip over, heavy things fly off shelves. That's the real danger for most of us. Every single thing on this list is a simple, easy fix that you can do to prevent a serious injury. Seriously, securing your space is one of the absolute best things you can do. All right, next up, supplies. And this is where a lot of people make a mistake. They think one kit is enough. Nope, you actually need two, and they have totally different jobs. First, you've got your home emergency kit. Think of this as your bunker. It's got enough food, water, and supplies for you to hunker down for a week, maybe even 2. But then you've got your grab-and-go bag. This is your escape pod. It's got to be light, it's got to be personal for each member of the family, and it's got to be ready to grab in a split second if you need to evacuate. Two different jobs, both are absolutely vital. Okay, you've prepped your space, you've got your supplies sorted. Now we come to it, the most critical moment of all, the moment the shaking actually starts. In that moment, you will not have time to think. You won't have time to pull up a checklist. Your actions have to be pure, automatic muscle memory. So please, if you remember nothing else from this entire explainer, remember these 3 words: drop, cover, and hold on. This isn't just a good idea. It's recognized by experts all over the world as the single best thing you can do to protect yourself. You drop to your hands and knees before the earthquake drops you. You cover your head and neck, your most vulnerable spots. And you hold on to whatever you're under, because trust me, it's going to be moving and you need to move with it. You know, it's just as important to know what not to do. So let's bust a couple of really dangerous myths right now. First, standing in a doorway. That's from old movies where houses were made of adobe. In a modern home, a doorway offers basically zero protection from flying objects. And the other big one, running outside. This is one of the absolute worst things you can do. You are so much safer inside, away from falling bricks, glass, and power lines. But what if you're not near a table? Good question. The core principles still apply. If you're in bed, stay there. Just cover your head with a pillow. It's way safer than trying to walk across a floor that might be covered in broken glass. What if you're driving? Your car is actually a pretty good shock absorber. Just pull over, stop, and set the handbrake. Stay away from overpasses. In a wheelchair, lock your wheels and cover your head and neck. See the pattern? The idea is always the same. Get low and protect your head. And then it stops. The shaking is over. And in that moment of silence, what you do next is so important. Those first few minutes can make a massive difference, not just for your safety, but for the safety of everyone around you. Before you even think about moving, I want you to do one simple thing. Count to 60, a full minute. Why? Because that gives everything that got thrown around a chance to finally settle. It's just a simple pause, but it could literally stop you from standing up right as that heavy picture frame finally falls off the wall. Okay, your minute is up. Now you're your own first responder. Here's your immediate checklist. First, check yourself for injuries. Then check on others. Second, put on a pair of sturdy, closed-toed shoes. I can almost guarantee there will be broken glass on the floor. Third, carefully look and sniff for new dangers like a fire or a gas leak. And last but not least, be ready for aftershocks. They will happen, so be prepared to drop, cover, and hold on all over again. Now, this next one is going to go against every single instinct you have, but it is so important. Your first impulse is going to be to pick up the phone and call your loved ones. You have to fight that urge. If everyone makes a phone call at the same time, the cell networks will just crash. They'll be completely overloaded, and that could prevent someone with a life-threatening injury from getting through to 911. A simple text message, it uses way less bandwidth and has a much better chance of getting through. So please remember this. Text, don't talk. So there you have it. You've got the playbook. But, you know, knowing the steps and actually being able to do them when the adrenaline is pumping are 2 totally different things. We have to turn this knowledge into pure instinct. And, lucky for us, there is a perfect day on the calendar to do exactly that. And here's the best part. You are not doing this alone, not by a long shot. On October 16th at 10:16 in the morning, hundreds of thousands of us all across the province are going to practice together. Just to give you an idea, last year, over 805,000 people right here in BC took part in the Great British Columbia Shakeout drill. You'll be part of this huge community movement, all of us working together to build a real culture of being ready. Because at the end of the day, all this information is only as good as your ability to use it when it counts. Practice is what turns I should into I did. It's what builds that life-saving muscle memory. Remember the ant from the beginning? The ant didn't just have a plan. The ant acted on the plan. The time to prepare, and even more importantly, the time to practice is right now. The earthquake, that's the test. The only question left is, will you be ready?